Hi, I'm Streaky from Streaky.com. Today, I'm going to give you a quick run through the FABFILTER Pro Q3. Hi, I'm Streaky. I'm a mastering engineer from London. I come on YouTube every day to talk about pro audio, mastering, equipment, rooms, how to get things sounding good, how to listen to audio and stuff like that really. So today I'm going to give you a quick review of the FABFILTER Pro Q new EQ plugin. So let's dive into the computer and I'll show you what I like about it, how to use it, and how you can use it and get the most out of it. It's quite intense. I really like it. I think it's great. But yeah, let's dive in and we'll see. So here we are inside Pro Q3. It's now a dynamic EQ, whereas the Pro Q2 was just a straightforward stereo EQ. So as you can see, the layout looks kind of similar, but there are masses of features in this now. So let me just run through a few of them and ways I've found I've been using it. So if you go to a band, you can just click anywhere and it will bring up in the middle sections bell curves as standard. You can then right click and delete these as you need to. If you click over on, say, the right, you'll get a shelf as standard, same on the left. If you go even further past this line, then you get a low cut, and the same here on this side. If you double click there, you get a high cut. So we've got two cuts. The main line is this line, so that's your main EQ line. So if we go into this here, you can see as I move this up, then the main curve line goes up too. Now these are quite standard. So if we've got a bell curve, if you press Command whilst you're doing it, it will move the Q of it, which is really handy. I can just move that as I'm listening, which is great. There's a listen feature here, so you can kind of zone in on exactly the frequency that you want, and then you can move it around with the command. It's got the command there, so you know that's what it's doing. You can also turn it on and off there, which is really handy, just having it right in front of you. Here you can go through, which is the right click. If you click on there, the right click, you can go in, change the shapes. This is all up here without even doing this section here. So you've got it here, you've got it on right click, and you've got it down the bottom. Now, the thing that's exciting about this, before we get into the dynamics side of things, so this is still the stereo, is that with this you're able to, say for example in the top end. So I've still got this shelf going on here, and what I can do is I can click down the bottom here and I get a selection of whether I want to go mid, side, left or right. So I can actually use the EQ in any of these ways. So for example, if I wanted to make the track sound wider in the high end, I could change that so it's just a side. You know it's side because it's just got side there. And then you can make it a lot wider there. So if I change the cube by holding down the command, I can do that and then move it around to open up the top end a little bit. If I change that back to stereo, then it obviously moves the curve back to where it was, and you can obviously do the same in mid. Now that makes this super powerful, because what you can do is you could mono the bass by making this curve just for the sides. So now you are just using that to bring the bass in narrower, and then you could put another one on to bring that up, and that could be in the mono, in just the mids. So you can have the sides doing different things to the mid, which is great. So you could mono in the bass and then lifting it up a bit. I know that I'm doing that on a cut, but you understand what I mean. If that was on a bell, then I could do that on the mids just there. So moving on now to the thing that's really exciting is the dynamics of this. So if I just get rid of all of these by right clicking, I can get rid of a lot of these just to show you the dynamics so it doesn't get too confusing. So getting rid of the mid-side stuff, just going back. So what I can do, if I take this, which is the stereo high shelf that we were talking about, if I right click here, I can make it dynamic. I can also make it dynamic if you look at the bottom gain down here by double clicking on this section here. But I found it easier just to right click here, make dynamic. Now what this is doing, it's in auto mode, as you can see down the bottom here. So you can see I'm adding 3 dB on. Let's go that 3 dB on, but I'm letting it go up to 6 if I want it to when there is actually stuff there. So what I'm doing there essentially is lifting all of the track up by 3 dB, but then when something's playing in that frequency range, then it's going to lift it by a further 3 dB or move it around depending on what the dynamics of the track is doing. You can also do the same, so you can then compress that sound down by doing the complete opposite. So if I was to bring that back down to 0, then if you had something that was sort of SE or something in the top end, then that would move that down. So super handy to have. You can then, if you're wanting to change the threshold, it's on auto threshold, but if you want to change the threshold, you can click on auto down the bottom and then pull this down, and then that will change the threshold, so it will really start pulling on it, as you can see. But the auto seems to work fine. The only reason that, for me, I've always done this kind of thing, but I've always done it within the multiband compressor that they do. And the reason why sometimes I do it in the multiband is because I want to change the attack and release times, where here it's all on auto, so you can't really change the attack and release. You can actually turn the dynamics on and off there just to see what's going on. So you can just hear between before and after, and you can obviously change the shape of the curve here. But as I said earlier, the easiest way to do that is just by holding command, and then you really get to listen to it. I really like doing that rather than trying to turn knobs. It's easier just to do that. So it's a really useful bit of kit. It's a great EQ that they've made here. So if I show you again, you can make that dynamic. So if you had something, for instance, that was a little bit muddy around 200, I'd command that in, maybe bring it in, just listening to how that sounds. So it's not taking it off the rest of the track. So in effect, in that area of, in your low mids, you're taking away some mud, but it's only doing it when the instruments are in rather than when other stuff's happening up here. Because sometimes you might take away a little bit too much from vocals or bottoms of snares, where here you can really zoom in on exactly what you want to do with the mud, and it goes really tight, as you can see, if you want to really drag stuff down. With mastering, I don't tend to do that kind of thing too much because it's a bit weird. But if you were using this for using across loads of different tracks, you can obviously dive really deep, start chopping into stuff quite heavily and making a lot of things really dynamic. So yeah, really cool EQ, definitely worth a look. There are a few other bits and pieces down here that you can do. There's some latency stuff, linear phase, and you can change how much linear phase you want. This is really kind of, you've got to listen and see what you like. There's loads of different analyzers. I haven't got into all of these yet. These are things that, there is a little help thing that pops up, so it tells you. So there is, I think that's unity gain and things, and you can change whether it's you're panning it in the right way. It's endless things. Another thing that's really cool, actually, as I'm on it, is that when you just leave your mouse in the middle, you can actually see how the frequencies are rolling. So if you've got anything that's really sticking out on an instrument, then you can just grab that area and it will pull an EQ down. So for example, if I just do that, I can then EQ that bit out. So I know so you can go through and graphically do it rather than having to, work it out for yourself. It will work it out for you, and then you can mess around with that once it's gone. So that's a nice little trick. So yeah, very good. They've got a lot of presets just to check things out, and you can say, it will just give you an idea of where to go with things. So you can just sort of, if this was going across your kick, then you've got a nice dynamic kick, and obviously it's taking out a bit of lumpiness there, but adding a nice bit of thump at 50 hertz, and it's doing it dynamically. So yeah, you need to flick through those and then move them around however, but it's a great starting point, that's for sure. So yeah, that's the Pro Q3. So there it is, the FABFILTER Q3. I'm using it a lot. I really like it. I love the sound. The top end, I think when you add too much, doesn't add enough kind of flavour, but I've got some other bits and pieces that can do that. But I think overall the sound of it's really good, and just the way that it moves the track around and where you can get really stuck in and make the track move a bit more. And also if you're tracking or if you're doing mixing, just being able to do those cuts and then also make it dynamic is really so useful. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe and thumb the video up. Go to streaky.com where I have a newsletter. There's 25,000 people on this newsletter. It comes out once a month. It's called the Audio Anoraks newsletter. It's got loads of tips, tricks, things that I see around the web that I'll point you to, discounts and giveaways. So it's only once a month. On streaky.com, I've also got a course where it's I'll teach you to master. If that's something you're interested in, then go to streaky.com where you can sign up for the newsletter and take the mastering course. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.